Good morning, everybody. Hearty welcome to the 5th day of the 5-day workshop on competency-based learning. And hearty welcome to all the principals, those who are attending this program, and the participants. Now, actually, today we are having a session, the 5th theme, multimedia material by Dr. Ruchi S. Kumar. Already she has taken one session. The first session was taken by her, but some principals have joined recently. Therefore, I wish to introduce her to the principals also. Dr. Ruchi S. Kumar is currently employed as an assistant professor at the Center for Education, Innovation and Action Research, Tata Institute of Social Science, TISS, Mumbai. She had PhD degree in Science Education from TIFR, Mumbai, and a master degree in Education from Department of Education, Delhi. She teaches Pedagogy of Mathematics and Teacher Education course in ME Education and ME Education courses in TISS. She is also a Max TPD lead in the Connected Learning Initiative, CLICS, at TISS. At CLICS, they have designed and facilitated workshops for mathematics teacher and teacher educators in several states, along with participation in design and research on learning outcomes for blended ICT-based student module for key topics like geometric reasoning and proportional reasoning. She has taken several sessions for teacher educators in workshop and courses at Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education and Dignatar. Have designed a course for in-service maths teacher called Reflective Mathematics Teaching, and in process of designing assessment in mathematics and lesson study for mathematics teacher as a part of the reflective teaching with ICT. Also being a part of the team designing course for MA and integrated B.Ed M.Ed course on mathematics education. She has published and presented research papers at several international and national conferences and have peer-reviewed publications and reputed journals. She is a member of International Group of Psychology of Mathematics Education and Mathematics Teacher Association of India. And she has the experience of working as a primary school teacher and more than 6 years act as a source of reflection and inspiration for her work. And after seeing all her achievements, you may be surprised to know that she is having a MSc in Faculty of Science Botany. Now mathematics has attracted her and she has done her PhD in mathematics. And PhD dissertation is Supporting In-Service Professional Development of Mathematics Teachers, the Role of Beliefs and Knowledge at Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education, Mumbai. Therefore, on behalf of all the principals and the participants, once again welcome to Ruchi Madam. Over to Ruchi Madam, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your presentation, the introduction. And yeah, so I got interested in mathematics because as a teacher, when I was teaching mathematics at for 5th standard, 6th standard, it really made me realize the kind of challenges the students face in learning mathematics, and I wanted to address that challenge. And I looked for various resources, and in Homi Bhabha Center, I was able to identify a few useful use. And ever since I have joined Tata Institute of Social Sciences, there also I have been working in identifying useful resources which are interactive and which can help students in understanding mathematics more deeply. Sometimes people who are not from the mathematics background may be able to empathize more with the learners, and they are able to identify the challenges and the difficulties that the students are facing. And using that perspective, I feel that I have been identify a few good resources, design a few good resources for students, and I hope that you will be able to try them out with your learners also, and would let me know if you find it useful for your learners or not. I would be very interested in knowing your views about it. So I will share my presentation, or Srinivasan sir, I have emailed my presentation to you because last time I was not able to see the chat and people.
No, madam, I will, the chat one, I will tell you when there is anything, I will be immediate.
Would you like to present?
Yes, madam, please present it. Please present it.
Yeah.
It will be convenient for you.
Okay. Okay, fine. Just wait a minute. Okay. Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes, madam, please continue.
Sir, can you see my screen? You
Yes,
can see
madam,
my
please
screen?
continue. Yes, madam, we are able to see your screen. Please continue.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay. So you must be familiar, even in the first session that we did. I like to start with questions itself. So first, I would like to know that if you have used multimedia resources in your teaching. I mean, you have been teaching the students during the pandemic and online using Google Meet and WhatsApp, as you told in the earlier session. So I just want to know if you have been teaching multimedia resources and give at least one example of multimedia resource in the chat itself. If you have used it. If you have not used it, just write no. And Srinivasan sir, you can tell me what all is
Yes,
coming
madam,
up.
ma'am, I will. They are using online quiz.
Yeah.
RoboCampus and GeoGebra.
Okay. In fact, the homework for today was that you are supposed to try out the dynamic square video that I had shown in the earlier session. All of you should have tried out the GeoGebra before
That
coming to
file
the
was
session.
shared with them. And they are using NCRT YouTube channel videos, hot potatoes.
Okay,
Diksha
any other
Studio.
resource apart from GeoGebra? Diksha,
Yes,
okay, great.
Then Mentimeter quiz.
Okay.
And Diksha portal they are using. And Word wall.
Okay, word wall.
Then
anything else?
They are using that Google form in Google Classroom.
Google what? Like Google has lots of resources, no?
Yeah, they are having that Google form. They are converting it to quiz, and they are using in their Google Classroom.
Okay, that is for assessment. Yeah.
Then simulators.
Okay, Google form, word wall.
Then that simulators.
Okay.
PHET.
Online quiz, which is what?
Then online quiz and NROER. Some of them are using.
Very good. Yeah.
Then OLAPS.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Okay. So some of the resources we had discussed in the first session itself, like simulations and Google Forms and GeoGebra itself. And it is nice to know that you are aware of Diksha and NROER. If you're not aware, please go to that website, because these are open educational resources, and they host a large number of resources for teachers to use in their classrooms, especially for teachers, and they are available in variety of languages, not just in fact, English ones were I found they were much less in quantity. There are a lot of Hindi resources, and in regional languages also there are lots of resources which are present. So if you have I think you have been also looking at YouTube videos, right? You can unmute and say if you have been using YouTube videos.
Yes, madam, they have mentioned that also.
Okay.
Yes,
and yeah, and what about Khan Academy?
Khan Academy videos.
Khan Academy, are you aware of that?
And the teachers have themselves, they have prepared some videos, and they are having their own YouTube channel.
Okay.
Now this year,
so these are all multimedia.
Yes, madam. This
Okay,
online
they have the YouTube channel. So this is great. Good to know that you have the YouTube channels also, because one of the tasks that I have designed for today is to make a video using some of the resources. Okay.
Yeah, ma'am, one portal like
So on what basis do you select a multimedia resource from the internet? Whether it is a Diksha platform, whether it is NROER, or you are creating resource or a video for the students, what is the basis? What is it that you see in that video that you selected? First, of course, it would be the concept that you are looking for, the topic and the grade level. But I want to know, beyond the topic and grade level, what do you look for? So to type it on the chat itself. Beyond the topic and the grade level, what do you look for?
Learning outcomes.
How do you decide? Some of you can unmute and also say learning outcomes. Okay.
They are feeling it is interesting.
Okay. Learning out. To you, whether it is interesting or not. Okay. Yeah. So good to know these points.
It is user friendly. User friendly.
And as you can see, there are a host of multimedia.
User
Sorry,
friendly.
did anybody say anything?
User friendly.
User friendly.
Yeah, child also can operate and
understand. What do we mean? A child can understand. Very good. This is really nice, because these are some of the points that we are going to discuss, that how should we select the multimedia resource, and even if we are designing a multimedia resource, how should we design it? And so this is a sort of a collage of different kinds of multimedia resources which are available on the internet. This includes the Khan Academy, Kahoot. This is Dragon Box. Dragon Box for algebra. This is a paid one though, and some of them are copyrighted. And there are other resources which are open educational resources, like PhET is an open educational resource. Can everybody mute now? Because there is a voice which was echoing. Okay. So PhET is another open educational resource. This is CLIX, Connected Learning Initiative. And this is the initiative I have been associated with for last 5 years. For last 5 years at Tata Institute of Social Sciences. And in this initiative, we have designed not only student modules for mathematics, science, and English, which can cater from 6th grade to 9th grade students, depending on what their understanding is. And as well as we have created materials for teachers, courses for teachers. And we have also made these courses available for teachers on the net itself at a platform called TISEX, and I will show that also to you. Scratch is another open educational resource, GeoGebra, Toy Theatre, Enrich, UCube. So you should, I mean, the resources which are listed here, I am slightly more biased towards them, because what we have found is that they are really much more useful in terms of building mathematical understanding, whereas the resources which are there on left hand side of the screen, this portion, these resources are focused much more on practice part itself, like you practicing calculations, or giving a concept has been taught and you just give questions and students just practice it. So there is nothing new that the student is creating. Whereas these resources listed here, they allow students to create and express their own ideas and to engage in much more deeper level of mathematics as compared to these ones. So we will see a few examples. So as we, as you were saying that you have used different kinds of multimedia resources, and multimedia resources essentially include different types of media. That is why they are called multimedia. So they can include sound, they can include a visual, they can include some sort of interactivity, they can include different kinds of assessment. So what we see as TV and radio programs, I mean, you can also be called them as multimedia. And videos can also include interactive questions, podcast, assessments, simulations, interactive activities, and games. So they are all constituted they all constitute multimedia. However, there can be differences in these resources in terms of the level of interactivity. So how much do these resources allow the learner to interact with the content and to interact with the teacher or the speaker? So there is different levels of interaction possible in them. And what we feel is that the more the interaction is facilitated with the content, with the teachers, and with the fellow students, the better the understanding of the student is of mathematics. Because essentially mathematics learning is social in nature. You have to have some social interaction with the teacher, with the students, to develop your own ideas. And it is not that the ideas are transmitted from one person to another person's mind, or you fill a jug like you fill a water in a glass. It's not like that learning happens. Learning happens through constructing your own ideas by engaging in different kinds of experiences. And therefore, these interactive experiences are very important. And why we should use multimedia resources? Because these multimedia resources help us to connect between different types of media, which may be visual in nature, which may be symbolic. So in case of mathematics, symbols are very important. Verbal, whether the situation is described in words, or whether the depicted in form of pictures, or whether the situation is depicted using some physical materials like different types of blocks, which may be representing the things to be shared, and different there can be different coins which might be representing people with whom things need to be shared, and one can move the blocks around. So when all these different things are connected in the multimedia resources, that helps the students to understand the abstract mathematical ideas, and also to represent these ideas in different forms and to connect them with each other. And these interconnections are the ones which helps in making a stronger understanding and deeper understanding of mathematics itself. And for doing that, one needs to give students opportunity to express their ideas. Now, what can be the teacher's role and what can be the student's role when you are using these multimedia resources? So as you can see in this slide, so the teachers, what they can do, they can select tasks, or they can allow students to decide which representations to use, or they can divide different time in different parts as to when the students will engage with the resource, when they will discuss, when they will share their ideas. They can introduce different types of representation and can make connections with them. They can ask students to make math drawings. So till now we were thinking like math drawing, I mean drawing is something which is most more useful in science because you use diagrams and everything. But now it has been found through research that even at primary level or elementary level in mathematics, these drawings of mathematics where the student represent a situation in using some drawing is very helpful for students to understand mathematics. In fact, the whole Singapore math movement is about representing the problems in using visuals and using drawings, and their students have been able to perform very high at PISA level just because they have enforced these kind of interventions in their schools. And so the teacher can also focus students' attention on different structures, the essential features that the students need to focus to understand mathematical ideas deeply. And the main role of the teacher is to be the designer of the whole learning environment, the designer of the whole learning experience of the student itself. Now, what is the student role? Essentially, what we see, the student role is just limited to listening to the teacher in a traditional classroom. But when you are using multimedia resource, there can be different kinds of opportunities that you can provide to the students, and which you can anyway provide in your regular classrooms also, and it would be very beneficial for students, which include using different types of representation. And what do I mean by different types of representation? Like again, you use drawings, you use symbols. Drawings can be connected to symbols, converted to symbols, or situations can be converted to drawings and then to symbols, and thus the connections can be formed. Describing and justifying their procedures, making choices about different types of representation, contextualizing mathematical ideas by connecting them to real world situations, to be able to give example from their own real lives, and consider the advantages of suitability of using various representations when different kinds of representations are there. Okay, so if this is the teachers and the student role, when you are selecting multimedia resources, how should you decide? So what I'm giving here are 6 different points. Yeah.
Somebody else was presenting, madam. The presentation is not there. Somebody else is presenting now.
Okay, in my screen it is saying that it is I am sharing. I think you need to stop participant sharing, and then I will be able to
Rasool sir,
show my
your presentation, please. आप present मत कीजिए.
My presentation only. It's just a different color. Can you see this framework for analyzing?
Rasool sir is presenting, I think.
No, ma'am. Somebody else is
Rasool sir is presenting.
Okay.
Rasool
Okay.
Rasool is doing this.
Okay, wait. Let's
1 minute, madam. I'm removing him. Now, madam, you start your presentation. You can start now.
Okay.
You can continue now.
Can you see my presentation?
No, ma'am.
Madam, now you continue. You have to present. Mr. Rasool, please. Mr. Rasool.
Sir, just wait. I'll present again.
Mute your mic and you started presenting also.
Okay. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Once again, you present it, madam, please.
Yeah.
Yes,
can
madam.
You see my screen?
Yes, madam. Your presentation started.
Okay, great.
You can start.
Okay, let me know if this happens once again also. Please let me know, huh?
No, madam. One person has started his presentation by mistake.
I know it happens.
Because Google.
There is I think some feature which is available. You can stop.
Yes, Google Meet is highly democratic.
Yeah. Okay. So, did you see this slide? This was what I was explaining, and now this is the framework for analyzing multimedia resources. Can you see this? It's a yellow colored slide. Can you see this? Please confirm.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great.
Yes,
so these are the 6 points. Yeah, these are the 6 points which I want you to focus on when you are selecting multimedia resources from anywhere, or even when you are designing your own multimedia resources. First is the resource should be focused on the concepts. It should be conceptual focused rather than focus only on teaching one kind of procedure and just on the practice itself. Yes, practice is important, but the concept should be addressed. And there should be some sort of reasoning and agility in thinking that should be allowed for the students. And I will show you one good example for this kind of resource, which is PolyUp. Just you can remind me then. Then the second point is accessibility. So when you are selecting a resource, whether what kind of device is needed by the student, whether they will be needing internet, whether they'll be needing camera, whether some sort of fees need to be paid by the student, whether it's a paid resource or a free resource, whether students have the digital skills and literacy to use that multimedia resource, or if not, then how will you develop that digital skills among students, whether they have some sort of parent support in doing that, interacting with that multimedia resource, whether they are having the device completely to themselves, or whether they are sharing the device with their parents or with their siblings. All these are accessibility issues that one needs to consider when one is selecting a multimedia resource, especially when one is using it in the classroom and online classroom. If you are using any resource which can be made available offline, then at least students can use it in their own convenient time. But if it is an online use, then you have to consider even more. Then what one of the teacher had said is the user experience is very, very important criteria. So the digital resource should be meaningful. It should enhance some understanding of the student. It should not be that something that they already know and then you are just repeating it sort of. And it should be engaging. There should be some element of interactivity in the resource itself. Then the pedagogical, what is the pedagogical principle behind the resource? You need to see whether it is based on transmission. The objective is just to transmit the information to the student, or whether it allows some sort of active construction of knowledge through collaborative engagement, like whether only whether the student is allowed to himself or herself express the ideas, or whether there is some sort of group engagement possible among the students for construction of knowledge. All these things can be considered. Then security issue is also very important. So whether what kind of data does the particular site requires, and whether the data of the students will be safe, whether like in Google Meet, you need to ensure that no other person gets the Google link, so that participants from outside should not enter your online classroom and do something funny or harass the students or something like that. So these security issues need to be always considered. And the last and the most important is open educational resources are preferred, but one needs to really be aware that not all educational resources which are free on internet and accessible on internet, all are not open educational resources. By open educational resources, we mean those resources for which one is allowed to share it freely to others, and some of the resources we are also allowed to change it. There are different kinds of so this is the Creative Commons license. If anywhere you see these kind of symbols, otherwise there is a copyright symbol. You all must be knowing what is a copyright symbol, right? And so if you see this symbol, this is the Creative Commons license symbol. So wherever you see this Creative Commons license symbol, you can know that that is a open educational resource and you can share it freely with the students. However, you may need to give the attribution to the original author. You may need to give the name of the author, or you need to share it. If this symbol is there, second number symbol is there, you have to share it exactly as the author made it. And it is, if this symbol is there, it is free to use and share with attribution, but one cannot edit it. But there are others. The first two, you are even allowed to edit it according to your own needs, according to your own students' needs. You can, the first two, you can even edit it. So if you go to Diksha or NROER, all the resources, if you scroll down, you will see these kind of symbols there, and which will tell you that they are open educational resources. Okay, so this is the framework, and I will ask you to use this framework to analyze whatever tasks that you will be doing today and resources that you will be creating today in the homework. So if you have any questions about it, please do ask me at the end of the presentation, or even now you can post in the chat itself if you feel you will forget the question. Okay. So just give me one moment. Just one minute. Hello. Can I talk to you at around 12 o'clock? I have a session right now. I'm sorry, I forgot to take it. Okay? Yes. Sorry.
Madam, please again tell about what is OER? What is it?
So what did you say? What is OER?
You just what is it, ma'am?
Open educational resource. We will see an example of it. For example, NROER, National Repository of Open Educational Resource. You will see an example of it. Diksha is an open educational resource. And these open educational resource, you will get this presentation. Srinivasan sir will share it. And also, I will share this slide with you, the whole slide presentation with you, and you can use it to understand. Okay. So these are a few sites for where open educational resources are there. Okay. So the open educational resources are teaching, learning, and research.
Madam, you lost your connection. Hello? Richi madam?
Sorry. So I was talking about the different pedagogical principles for multimedia design, and the pedagogical principles basically mean like what is the pedagogy that you have decided behind the particular resource itself. And so it is important for you to identify and address the learning outcomes, integrate 2 or more media. The explanation of the concept should be clear, and there should be some sort of interactivity to like questions which can provoke students to think, opportunity to express ideas, or interactivity which is built in within the media itself. Like GeoGebra has the facility for one to change the shape or the size or the numbers and to respond to certain things and to get feedback from the teachers. These are the different kinds of interactivity which are possible. Then the pedagogical principle could also be about establishing connection with students' lives, between the situations and action, students giving opportunity to students to collaborate, to engage with mathematics on their own, and to understand the procedures more deeply and to learn from their mistakes. So when you are looking at different resources and when you are making these resources, please do try to think from these lenses as to which these resources are addressing which kind of pedagogical principle and what is the learning outcome that they are addressing. Okay, so since you are already aware of NROER and Diksha, I will not go there, but these links are provided in the slide, and you can go and access them. Now, video was something that you all were saying that you are using a lot of videos for students' instruction. So, I mean, do you think videos are interactive? Videos are interactive resources or not interactive resources? Can you respond on the chat?
Yes.
Non-interactive.
Non-interactive.
Videos not interactive.
Okay, some of the people are saying yes and some are saying no. So yes, videos are not interactive because it is just a one-way transmission of information or content. But it is possible to include some sort of interaction in the video by including some sort of questions, which can be for formative assessment to understand whether the learner is able to follow the particular video or not, or whether it is about the explanation given in the video and asking learner to apply it in a new scenario. However, it is also possible to include interaction within the video. For example, if the video is recorded in such a way that there is a conversation happening, or a teacher is teaching the class, for example, a classroom teaching video, then the video is interactive in the sense because it is including voices or ideas or thinking from two different perspectives. So if the video has two different perspectives, then also it can be interactive in a very subtle way, and it can help student in thinking, because at least other perspective is present. But if you see Khan Academy videos, they are usually transmission type videos in which the overall objective or overall intent is to give instruction clearly, to explain it clearly, so and that it is only a one-way communication, but they also make it a point to include some sort of questions along with the video after the videos itself. So that makes it more interactive. So when you're using videos in your classrooms, in your teaching, think about it, whether you are just working under a transmission pedagogical principle, or whether you are doing something to allow active construction of students' knowledge or not. What kind of opportunities you are giving to students to construct the knowledge. So it should not just be demonstration, but there should be some sort of connection which should be established among different representations. And there are different types of resources also present to make the videos. One is screencast. I'm sure many of you must be already aware of the screencast. Please let me know if you are.
No, ma'am. No.
You are not aware of screencast. So you must have seen a lot of videos, even the Khan Academy videos or videos on YouTube, where they are showing their screen, like I'm showing right now, and my voice gets recorded side by side. So there is a software called Screencastify, and you can just download it and add it to your Chrome browser. And when you want to make a video, you just need to start it, and you can just keep speaking along with the presentation or along with what you are doing on the screen, and it will record that voice and the screen together, and you can then edit it and release it in form of a video on YouTube. And there are certain tips also for making these screencast videos. Usually when you make video, what is the length? Do you make 30 minutes videos?
Yes,
because the period is 30 minutes. Okay, so the research says that students' attention, especially when they are watching videos, is not more than 5-6 minutes. It's not more than 5-6 minutes. So in fact, the longest time that even adults can concentrate on a video is 7 minutes. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not able to understand you. Please help.
Yeah, ma'am, Ruchi ma'am.
Yeah.
We find on Diksha, whatever videos we are watching, for teachers we have so many assignments, all are up to 7 to 8 minutes.
Okay.
They are showing it. It's a wonderful. We can find Diksha platform.
Yeah.
But some assignments to do, we are doing it. All the videos are just 7 to 8 minutes.
Exactly. So you should not make videos more than 7 to 8 minutes. The explanation should be limited to 7 to 8 minutes, and there are certain more tips on how the screen should be managed, and what are the kind of things that you can include, and also just watching a person's face. or even only watching what person is writing on the board. That kind of videos is also very boring, and it is very difficult to capture students' attention. And in pandemic time, especially when students are exposed to so many different kinds of things on screens, and they are playing games and everything, these kind of things become very boring for them. So I would suggest that you use different kinds of resources to make the video, to capture your screen. Like the FET resources that we had explored on the first day, you can make video using those FET resources, and then can for 5 to 6 minutes, and then can ask students to go and explore those resources on their own, and can then have last 10 minutes can be about the assessment based on their exploration of the FET resources. Or you can give the video beforehand on the WhatsApp itself, ask student to explore beforehand the class, and then in the class what you are doing is having a interaction, a question answer interaction in the classroom. And because that is what is missing in students' life right now, they are not having this kind of interaction opportunities. So you can use classroom time for that, and other things can be done. And this kind of thing where students study before coming to the class itself is called flipped classroom. I don't know if you're all are aware of this terminology, but this is becoming very popular. This is a flipped classroom where students prepare and then they articulate and express their ideas in the classroom, and the classroom time is used more for discussion. So using this idea of flipped classroom itself, Microsoft has come up with another platform called Flipgrid. And in the Flipgrid, again, the teachers or students can record their videos, and they can be of short duration. There are very nice type of funny type of additions available. Like you can put some colors and some different kinds of add-ons on the screen itself, and can record your video. And the students find it very interesting. And there are different templates also available. Okay, so I'll just give you a small glimpse. You have to join this sign up, that is, you have to sign it up. And yeah, so just let us, I think I'll have to stop my sharing and share with the voice to be able to show you. Just wait for a minute, wait for a second. What is the time already?
You have enough time, madam. Please continue.
We have till 11:30, right, today?
Yes, madam. Yes.
Okay. It's not giving me the option to share the voice. Or I also get confused between Zoom and Google Meet, because we are using Zoom in my office, and here it is Google Meet. So maybe let me know if you can hear the voice.
Continue. You are able to hear your voice. Continue.
No, I mean the voice of the video itself.
Madam.
No, ma'am. No.
Now, can you hear the voice?
No, ma'am.
Yes, madam. Yes. I can hear.
Okay. So you can invite. I'll just go back a little bit. Okay. So you can create a topic of your community. You can add a topic, put a question, and then you can send the email to the student using this platform. Students join using the code. They join, and then they are able to see the material, the video and the material, and they can even respond using a video itself.
Ma'am, you can share with Chrome tab, then voice will come.
Chrome tab, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But I hope you were able to see at least. Okay. I think I will move forward now. If there is a need for understanding how to use Flipgrid, there are a lot of YouTube videos also are available, and you can see and you can try out Flipgrid. I wanted to spend more time on sharing mathematics related resources with you, because this is the kind of a general resource which all of you can use on your own, right? Please mute. There is a lot of disturbance coming.
I have muted, madam. I have muted.
Yeah. Now, one resource that you all already seem to be familiar with is GeoGebra, and GeoGebra is a very good resource for mathematics. I mean, because it has it essentially involves the element of interactivity. It is based on the elements of interactivity itself, because not only teacher but also the students can create different types of material on it. There are also a lot of ready-made resources which are available and which can be edited to according to your own needs. You can also create new resources. There are different resources in form of applet, simulations, and there are tasks which can be added to the Google Classroom directly. So your students can directly in your Google Classroom do use GeoGebra to interact. And the other good feature is it is available on laptop as well as on phone. And the tutorials are available for teachers, and YouTube videos are also available. So, for example, so this is this is a video about how you can add the GeoGebra to your Google Classroom. There is a whole. Can you please mute? There is still echo coming.
Madam, all are muted.
Okay, Sir Srinivasan sir, then perhaps you also mute. Do you have a speaker on? Because sometimes there is
No,
echo.
I have muted. I have muted, madam. I'm also muting.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so this is the whole curriculum which is available. So you can see this is the illustrative math grade 6 outline. So different types of units, area, ratios, percentages, dividing fraction, arithmetics, expression and equation, rational numbers, data sets. The whole curriculum for 6, 7, 8, they are all created in it, and they have got very good tasks which are interactive and which can allow students to use GeoGebra in various ways. For example, they have the lesson description. So, for example, the area of this parallelogram, they have the different lessons. And the student can type the answer here or the definition, and they even have interactives. Okay, so which the students can move and can create different kinds of shapes or tasks, or do this task, grab the point at the vertex and drag to turn it. The area of square is 1 square unit. So you have to perhaps make a square of area 1 square unit. Okay. Okay. So perhaps if you turn it, yeah, you can turn it. You can turn it. You can. So here they have not allowed the option of increasing the size. So that is how they will be able to make the different shapes of. So they have constrained a few things. So these kind of ready-made tasks are available. You can turn it and you can join it and make squares and different kinds of things. Okay. Yeah. So this is a kind of task which are already available, and your students can do these tasks, these resources. You can even click here and create your own class in which you can give all these tasks together. You can change a few questions according to your need. Then there is another good feature of GeoGebra is the slider. So let us see this. Okay, just wait. Okay, just wait. Yeah, Chrome tab. Yeah, just wait a minute.
to use sliders in order to graph a set of curves. A slider is a gadget which helps you to modify a variable visually. If we want to create a variable b, which should take the values from 1 to 4 in steps of 0.1, we can click on the button slider. In order to specify the position of the slider on the drawing pad, we click on the desired position. In the following pop-up menu, we can choose the name, the interval of the values, and the increments it should take. In our case, we want to name the variable b, and it should take the values from minimum 1 to maximum 4 with the increment of 0.1.
Are you able to hear this?
After clicking on apply,
Yes, ma'am.
we created the desired slider. We would like to take a look at the graph of the families of functions f, which are given by the equation f of x equals x squared plus b. In order to do that, we enter the equation of the family of functions in the algebra input. When we hit the enter button, we can see one member of the family of curves on our drawing pad. Now, in order to see the other members of the family of curves, we click on the button Move. Then we can move the slider B horizontally and see the immediate effect in the graph.
Yeah. So were you able to see? I hope you were. And the best thing about this GeoGebra is that you are able to manipulate it. Using the slider function, you can manipulate different kinds of shapes. You can manipulate different graphs, and you're not just seeing one instance of a particular mathematical object, whether it is a graph, whether it is a shape, but by being able to move or being able to use the slider in different ways, you are also able to see the different ways in which the shape can change or the graphs can change. And when you are changing these different parameters, what exactly is changing, which parameters are changing, and which parameters are remaining constant, because that is where the mathematics is hidden. For example, if you have made a square, right, the dynamic square video that I had shown earlier, if you have made that square, so if you go on increasing the size of that dynamic square, what will happen is the properties will be preserved. The angles will remain 90 degrees at all times, but the length of the sides will go on increasing. And if one length increases, all the other three lengths also automatically increases in a dynamic square. But if you're making, using any other option by joining the 4 lines, then if you increase one line, the squares do not remain. It will become a different kind of a parallelogram or a quadrilateral itself. So these kind of things, when students do on their own and the teacher has discussion with them, they will be able to understand the properties of these geometric shapes, the properties of graphs much more deeply through interaction. And it is not just through doing calculations or just through drawing and remembering the definitions itself, because more connections are being formed here. So I would urge you to try GeoGebra definitely, especially middle grades and secondary grades. GeoGebra is very, very useful resource for the students. Now in Qlik, along with the GeoGebra, we have also made different kinds of resources. Another resource that we have made is this Police Squad game. So in this Police Squad game, what we found was we worked in the rural areas of India, and we were working with 9th grade students. But what we found was students of 9th grade did not had a basic understanding of properties of angles, sides. They were not able to describe shapes according to their properties. They were still describing on the basis of how they looked and not on the basis of properties. They were not able to identify similarities and differences of different shapes based on their properties and make different classes, or to understand the hierarchical classification, like whether if the square can be a rectangle or rectangle can be a square. So these kind of questions they were not able to do. So the police squad game essentially helped them to understand this a little bit more deeply. So this is geometric reasoning resource. I hope you are able to see on your screen. Please confirm. Srinivas,
yes, we are able to see.
okay. Yes. So I have given its link on the PPT itself. When you click on geometric reasoning, you will be able to see. As you can see, the resource is available in English, Hindi, and Telugu. So you can click on these, and the different languages will be available. There are 5 different units. The first unit is concept of shape, and then analyzing, describing, and third is classifying, defining. And within that, we have, in the second unit, we have the police squad game. I had opened it up. Yeah. So this is the police squad game. In this, we even had a background story, because I mean, to make mathematics more interesting and more engaging. So in this story, there is this alien which comes from a different planet, and they want to get permission to stay on the Earth itself. So they were asked how they were able to escape from their planet. They said that they were able to solve using their reasoning. And so then this alien was given the job of being with the police in the on Earth, helping police. And they started staying with the Earth people, and how they were recognizable, they all looked the same, but they were, one is able to recognize them based on the kind of shape that they have on their chest. They had different kinds of shapes or quadrilaterals on their chest. So because some of the innocent Judics or these aliens were captured and kept in the jail, and this person had this responsibility of identifying who is innocent and should be released, and who has done this, who is the culprit. So this job is given to it, and then he solves it. He is supposed to solve it using the reasoning. So this is, for example, this is the first case that we have got. So there are 4 different culprits shapes which are indicated here in these 4 suspects here. And so here we can generate the clue. So the clue is the culprit has exactly 6 straight sides. Now, on the basis of this clue, you have to release the innocent ones. So can you identify which ones are innocents? Can anybody tell me? This is the first shape, second shape, third shape, and fourth shape. Which one is innocent?
First one.
First one.
Anyone?
First one.
First one is innocent.
See, the culprit has exactly 6 straight sides. So which one has exactly 6 straight sides? 1, 2, 3, 4,
second, third,
5,
and fourth.
6.
Second,
This one
third,
has
and
6.
fourth. Second,
Right?
third, and fourth have 6
So
sides.
this can be a culprit. So we cannot release it. What about this one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this can also be a culprit. We cannot release it. What about this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This can also be. What about this one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this one does not have exactly 6 straight spikes and therefore can be released. So we have the feedback mechanism also, in which there are points. So if you make any of the mistake in releasing a culprit, you lose the points. Right now, I have the proper score, 80 score itself, and my score will keep on decreasing if I make mistake. So that is the feedback the child is getting about making mistakes. We also have different tools where you can measure whether the sides are equal or not, the sides are parallel or not, and you can move this to check the parallel, or whether the side, whether there is a 90-degree angle there or not. So these different types of tools are available. And as you saw initially, there are 4 missions. So in 4 different missions, you have, so in the first mission, there is a clue, and then you are supposed to solve it using the clue itself. In the second mission, you have to create the clue to ask to a robot who can only respond in yes or no. In the third mission, you have to identify the similarities among the shapes and identify that property to create a new shape having that particular attribute itself. And at the fourth mission, you need to be able to understand the hierarchical classification. So, I mean, this is a sort of a progressing level of understanding that students can develop by playing this game itself. Any questions you want to ask on this right now? You can. So along with this game, we have got teacher's handbook and the student's handbook, which are, let me see where. Okay. I think I have lost that. Yeah, here. So if you do show more, so the student handbook is available and teacher handbook is also available in English. You can just click on this and you can download these handbooks to understand the rationale behind all these tasks and how these examples of how these tasks can be used with students. Another resource that we used is Turtle Logo, and that is also very interesting for students because students can create different kinds of, I mean, you can say mathematical art using these Turtle Logo itself. And there are, one can also learn coding along with the mathematics itself. And we know that in the recent NEP, there has been an emphasis of creating, I mean, of using the coding, I mean, for ensuring the students learn coding also. So this is one way in which mathematics and coding can be learned in an integrated manner. So it can be very useful for the students. There are different kinds of projects which are already available. You can see those projects, and then it's very easy also because what I was showing now, see this one. So here, all that this turtle has done is right 18 and then forward 50. So this angle, that the angle with which the turtle is turning is only 18 degree and then forward is 50. Then you have to essentially repeat right 144, forward 50 and left 72, forward 50. And that is how this star has been created. You can try out, you can try changing this, these measures to see how this angle is being formed. So this angle is not the same as what we are assuming it to be. So when we are measuring the angle, we usually measure what is the angle between these two, so interior one. So how this angle is measured, if the turtle is going this way and it turns from this side to this side, so this angle is measured. But what we see is that when the shape is being made, it is like this. So we might be looking at this one, whereas the turtle would have turned only for 30 degree, but we might be looking at it in terms of 60 degree. I don't know if that was clear or not, but what I would say is you try this out and it would become much more clearer to you. If I mean, if we were in face-to-face situation, I am sure I would have been able to explain this in a better manner. So kindly pardon me about this. Yeah. Okay. So another very interesting software which you can use and which involves coding again is Scratch. And Scratch is another open educational resource. It is made by MIT, and the students can also use it, the teachers can also use it, and there are some very nice nice projects which are already done. You can click on this and can see it. I am clicking on this multiplication project. Here also you have to register, okay? Register first, and then you will be able to see this. If you don't register, then you will not be able to work in Scratch. You will be able to only see the projects, but you will not be able to create your own with ease, okay? So for example, this project, and you want to see it. So what you have to do is, you just have to click this green flag to start it, and the red is for stop, okay? So I click this. Now it's saying 12. So how can you make 12? Can anybody tell me? What should I do here? Guess what needs to be done. There are certain instructions also given on this side. You can see this. There are certain notes and credits. If you have made using some other software, you need to give them credit here.
We need to select.
Can anybody give me an idea how I can get 12 here?
Select a number from row and a column.
What should I do?
Select a number in the row and a column to get 12, whose multiplication
is 12. So I click 6 here and then 2 here. See, I get 12. Right? Now it's saying 45. Now what should I do? Anyone? Are you able to hear me?
5 and 9.
Okay, everyone is there. I was just checking. Anyone?
5 and 9, madam.
9 and 5. Okay, now I see your chat. 9 and then 5. Yeah. So this is how you can do it. Now, suppose you find any project very interesting and you want to change it for your students. Okay. So all you have to do is to click on this remix. And this remix will be available. This option is available to you only if you have registered. So now all you have to do is to change the numbers given here. Okay. So you can see the code. You have to see the code and understand it based on what is happening here, and you can change the code here. Okay. Yeah. Let me show you one more. Oops. Yeah. So it is even possible to create quizzes using Scratch. And this is something which is very easy for you to change. 3, 2, 1. Suppose you want to do multiplication. So 7 multiplied by 1, 7. So, and see, if you click on it, it gives you feedback that it is correct. 8 multiplied by 2, 16. It's correct. Now you can just click on the remix. And you can change the questions that are being asked. Okay. You can find the questions here. Okay. So you have to quiz 1, then you have to go to the code, and then for the code, yeah. Yeah. So for sprite 1. Yeah. When click this, next costume, math time. So you have to identify which of the sprites you have to do. And when it will show this, so these are the different codes which are available, and you can change these codes to you can take codes from here and you can change it to make your own questions, right? And here is the code where they select whether you want addition, countdown, division, match time, multiplication. You can change it. Okay, so suppose I change it to multiplication and then I render it and then I see the result. Okay, so then I run it. By, if I do the green flag, it will run. So you have to run it again and you'll be able to see. Okay, so you have to try out a little bit these kind of things. Yeah, you can try this out and you can work on it. Okay, yeah, so there are several other softwares which are also available. There is a very nice resource by NCTM on coronavirus and proportional reasoning. There is also another game which is Lure of the Labyrinth, again created by MIT, which also talks about proportional reasoning. And then there is a CLIX proportional reasoning module, which I wanted to show you. So just like geometric reasoning, this is CLIX proportional reasoning, and we have the student handbook and the teacher handbook, and we have different units, and within this unit, if you click, you'll be able to see different lessons. So we have the pre-assessment, we have the tangram activity. I think you all did the tangram activity with Shikha. Then we have the story of this girl Jamuni who has fear of mathematics, but she learns how to do different puzzles of mathematics using different ideas. So for example, there is a context of fair sharing among the friends. So how can Jamuni do that? You can help the students. The students can help Jamuni in doing fair sharing itself. So for example, you have to distribute 5 cakes fairly among 4 children. Then how will you do it? So what you can do is you can give 1 cake to each of them, right? So this is the physical representation, and then this 1 cake, what you will do, you will divide it into 4 parts, and then you can give each part. And now see, can you see the fractional representation is also coming on tooltip? So as the mouse goes there, the students also learn the fractional representation, that this is 1/4 of the 1 whole cake. And likewise, they can cut it into different 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 6 parts they can cut. So after they have cut and distributed it, this task is something which is very easy for the students, they do it. But what is difficult is to identify what is share of the child, and then they have to write the answer here, they enter the answer here and say sharing done, and then they will get the feedback. So likewise, we have other tools also. So other very good tool for proportional reasoning is scaling, like how a particular pattern can be increased or decreased. Like when we are making Rangoli, we see a pattern, right? And then it is there in the second unit. So I'll have to go to explore. So when we are making Rangoli, there is a small pattern which is there, but we have to actually make it big. So making it big, we have to do certain kind of scaling. So that we have to, for example, you have to scale it up to 1:10 ratio, or you have to, a bigger pattern is there and you have to reduce it to a smaller portion, then you have to scale it down from to 1:2 ratio. So these kind of things involve proportional reasoning and multiplicative thinking. So we have devised one such tool for that kind of, for supporting that kind of thinking. So one can directly also go to the interactive itself. If one goes to the clicks, yeah, clicks OER. If one directly wants to go to the tool, one can just go to the interactive, and we have different types of tools available here. There is food sharing tool. This is what we just did. Then there are puzzles. There is guess the number. Then if we go to number 2, yeah. So this is ratios and pattern tool. All you have to do is to click on this rocket symbol, rocket icon, sorry. Activity 1. Yeah. So suppose this pattern is there and you have to remake this pattern here. How will you do it? So this way. So this way they can just color. They have to decide whether they will scale it up. Oops. Let's scale it up in this way, making different repeated squares like this, or whether they will scale it up in this way. And if they have, and after scaling up, they have to respond what was the scaling factor with which they scaled the particular figure. Okay, I will not complete it, otherwise the time will go. And yeah. So you can try out Qlik's proportional reasoning also, and there are several other also resources available for fractions, which you have already done actually in PhET simulation. But there is also one resource I wanted to show. This is the Cuisenaire rods, and the good thing about this resource is that it allows different students to collaborate also. So here, and they have the activities which are, so some of the activities have already been created. If teachers want to create their own activities, then also they can create it. Find a rod which is as long as the other 2 rods. Where is the rod? Okay. So suppose you have to create a rod which is equal to this, right? So then how will you do? Suppose you use this rod. Will this fit? Students will try to do that. Okay. They can try putting it like this, and then they will see that it will not fit. Then they might try something else, and then they have to write down what is the relationship between. The teachers can ask the question, what is the relationship between the first 2 rods? How can they be represented in terms of fractions? And how the third rod can be represented in terms of fraction. So as you can see, this yellow rod can be represented as 1/3 of the rod, 1/3 of the rod being formed by the first 2 rods itself. So that, like this, teachers can create different types of questions and can even create fraction charts, which is already given in the, I think it's there in the 5th class textbook. Then the good feature is that you can collaborate. So you can create a code, a shared table, you can create tasks, you can create a shared table, and you can give that code to the students, and they can work together in co-working mode. So 2 or 3 students can work together. And the table code is 56099. When they put this code, and they will be able to work together on this table. So this kind of collaboration is also possible among students using this kind of tool. So such tools are very good because here interactivity is there, collaboration is there, allowing students to express your own ideas is also there. Then there are different resources for algebra. So the biggest problem one has in terms of being able to represent fractions or algebra is not being able to write on different documents in the mathematical, true mathematical form, the formal expressions. So this graspable math, this allows you to create. So when you click on insert, you can choose what you can just type it. There is already, yeah. So suppose you say x, 7 plus x square, and it becomes nicely visible. And another very interesting feature is, let me show you. So suppose I say 7x. If I write an equation in which it's possible to do addition, subtraction. So this allows the students to do that. Plus 2y plus 5y. Okay. Yeah. So okay, you will not be able to see it in with what my hand is doing, but it is possible for me to slide 7x and 8x together and add it just by the sliding itself. So I'm going to do this right now. Say if you have to do it together, you have to hold the space bar. Oops. So you can even take the x out, or you can take the y out. Can you see this? Takes a little bit of practice. Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
And I have yet to practice it. So this has happened. Now I just combine those two together. I combine those two together. I can bring this here. I can bring this here. So it makes it very easy for me to manipulate equations, to change it, to write, to express them in their true form. So I felt that this was really nice. Another very good resource which is interactive and which allows students to develop flexible thinking is PolyUp. So here also I have already registered, and it is also possible to make different teams of students and for the students to work together and to create your own task also. So you can just click on the home, and there are different educator resources also available here. So there are some very some of the tasks have already been created, which can be addition, subtraction. You can go to different levels of task also. There are tasks available for 6th grade also. Suppose I go for home, or I'll just show you simple addition first. Okay, takes some time to load. So I'll try to show you how it helps in flexible thinking. I know it's going to be time in a few minutes, but if you will give me just a few more minutes, you just click on this key and then this mod. Okay, so suppose you have to make 24 from these numbers which are given, and then this is something which is already given. So when I click on this face, see what happens. So it adds 14, and then it says that this is not what I am looking for. Tap anywhere to continue. So one has to make 24, and 7 addition is already given. So how will you be able to make 24? Any ideas? Any ideas? One can even replace it.
5 plus 5 you add now. 5 plus 5.
Or one can.
No. Add 5 plus 5 to the existing.
Yeah. One can put the 16 here. Okay. One cannot. Then also one can try.
8.
Any ideas?
8. 16 plus 8.
Will this happen? Oh, so we are still short.
16 plus 8.
7 plus 8, madam.
So if we are able to move the 12, no. If we are able to move the 8 here, yes, one can form 24. But 8 is not possible because we do not have the place to keep 7. So what is the way we can solve this puzzle? So this becomes some sort of puzzles that students have to solve. So suppose if we keep 8 here and then
9.
What else can we do? This is 15. Okay. Since it's okay, it's showing 8 and 16 only. So if you want to see what is the solution, you can show solution here and you can do it. Right? So we also have the linear equations, and there are certain very nice visual patterns also which are available, which helps the students. Okay. Okay. So these, I will 1 minute. So we have a few more resources here, and these are basically courses for teachers. You can click on these links and you can go there. There is one resource, technologies for online learning, and then there is another resource called Cool Math. These resources are available, courses are available for free, and then there is going to be a paid resource which will be available for you in some time, and this paid course will start from 27 November, and if someone wants to join this course, they can feel free to do so. It will be released on the website tisex.tis.edu within 3 to 4 days. So by 27 November, you will be able to join and start the course itself. 27 November it will start. 1 week before 27 November, you can check the website to see if the course is available, if anybody is interested. If not, then you can check out these free resources which are already there. Okay. So these are a few questions that I had thought for discussion, but since we don't have time, perhaps we can discuss in the evening itself. Let me come to the task that I wanted to give you today. So what today the tasks that I'm giving you clearly that I would need different slides in terms of presentation from each of the group, and what I want on the first slide, what I want on the second slide, all that I'm telling you. So on the first slide, you have to know about the learning outcomes document which has been released by NCERT, which has learning outcomes for elementary level, and Srinivasan sir can share that with you. I think you already have that also. So on the first slide, whatever resources that you have made, you have to write the pedagogical strategy that you have used in that particular resource and the learning outcome which one can get from using that resource or activity. On the first slide, I wanted for all of the resources that you are creating or you are modifying. Then on the second slide, I want a link of at least one video that you have of 2-minute duration, which you can create using either screencast or Flipgrid. And you have to create this video using PhET simulation. Now, PhET simulation is something which you have already done in the first day itself. Then the third slide, I want you to modify at least one quiz in Scratch and add your own questions. And you have to register in the Scratch and use the remix function. If it is coming out to be a bit too much for you, all these tasks, then you can have a choice between third and fourth one. Okay. Out of third and fourth one, you can do at least one. So I'll put that, I'll make the change in the presentation itself, right? I also realized now, okay, that might be a bit too much for you. Okay. And the fourth slide is use the slider function in GeoGebra to make one resource using any one of the theorem. For example, it can be the theorem about the 4 angles of a quadrilateral always remain 360, so that no matter how you change the quadrilateral, the angles remain same. How you can show that? If you're not able to understand how to make it from the Scratch itself, search for a video. You will be able to see the video. At least try to do the steps which are given in that video. Make it yourself. But even copying what is there already there in the video helps you a lot in terms of learning. Please do not put the link of the video or a resource which is created by someone else. Put the link only of the resource that you have created yourself using GeoGebra, however small it may be. The 5th slide need to have the, you have to play at least one game, Police Squad, Polyup, or Lure of the Labyrinth, or any, I would not say any other game, because I know if I say any other game, you would go on the internet and try something else. Or you can try any of the clicks resource that I have shared with you, and you can put the screenshot of your solution on the 5th slide. And I'm being clear, you need to put the screenshot of the solution that you have made. Okay. And in 6th one, the last slide need to have the framework that I had shown on the yellow slide, the content, whether it is interactive or not. So you analyze the resources that you have created in terms of that, whether it is being able to follow all the different aspects of the framework. It is okay even if they don't follow all the aspects, because it is not even possible. But you need to write clearly to what extent they are able to follow the different aspects, and then put the copy of your presentation in the folder link that is given in the presentation itself. Yeah. So, Srinivasan sir, I have already sent you the presentation there.
I'm sharing with them. I'm sharing it with them. I will share it with them.
Srinivasan sir, are you there?
Yes, madam, I'm there. Madam.
I can't hear. Oh.
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me now?
Just 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. Something.
Can you hear me now?
Actually, there is something which is going on. Okay. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can. Go ahead, please.
Madam, actually, due to there won't be any time for them to submit all of them. Let them prepare it. Let us make the first one and the last one as compulsory, because they are all little bit discussion type, and we will ask them to just have any 2 activities. Let them prepare all, but let them present any 2. Hello, madam. You are able to hear me?
Yeah. I'm not able to hear you clearly. Can you, if you just continue discussing it with the student, with the teachers for a minute, and then I will be able to get back to you. There is some noise coming. I'll just.
Due to lack of time, it will not be possible for you to do all the tasks. First of all, I think the number 1 already I have shared it with you. Identify the pedagogical strategy is compulsory to everybody. And the last one is the framework slide. For that, 1 or 2 points you can tell. And the remaining, either you can use the slider or you can use modify the space. Any 2 you please.
Okay. Okay. Any 2.
Yes, madam. I was telling them because
I heard you. I heard you.
The identify the pedagogical strategy is a must for everybody. And the yellow one to analyze the resources is compulsory for everybody. Let them come out with their own ideas. But out of the remaining, let them do any two.
Okay, which is fine with me. But I just wanted to know from everyone if they were able to follow it.
Yeah, madam, they will be able to follow. Actually, the problem is there are 5 groups, and every group we are giving them only maximum 15 minutes. So let them discuss.
I know.
That is the problem. But they will be doing it, madam, because the link, everything I have shared with them. Therefore, they will be doing it, and when in their course which they are going to conduct also, they will be explaining everything to them.